sorry.
There it goes. Yes.
Yeah, that was nice.
We got to come together, transform and make it better. Know what I'm saying, what this one ain't get involved. We the ones we've been waiting for, cause it's our problem to solve. Know what I'm saying, what this one ain't get involved. We the ones we've been waiting for, cause it's our problem to solve. Know what I'm saying, what this one ain't get involved. We the ones we've been waiting for, cause it's our problem to solve. Know what I'm saying, what this one ain't get involved. We the ones we've been waiting for, cause it's our problem to solve. Know what I'm saying, what this one ain't get involved. We the ones we've been waiting for, cause it's our problem to solve. Know what I'm saying, what this one ain't get involved. We the ones we've been waiting for, cause it's our problem to solve. Know what I'm saying, what this one ain't get involved. We the ones we've been waiting for, cause it's our problem to solve. Know what I'm saying, what this one ain't get involved. We the ones we've been waiting for, cause it's our problem to solve. Know what I'm saying, what this one. Know what I'm saying, what this one. Know what I'm saying, what this one. Know what I'm saying, know what I'm saying, what this one ain't get involved. We the ones we've been waiting for, cause it's our problem to solve. Know what I'm saying, what this one ain't get involved. We the ones we've been waiting for, cause it's our problem to solve. Know what I'm saying, what this one ain't get involved. We the ones we've been waiting for, cause it's our problem to solve. Know what I'm saying, what this one ain't get involved. We the ones we've been waiting for, cause it's our problem to solve. Know what I'm saying, what this one ain't get involved. We the ones we've been waiting for, cause it's our problem to solve. Know what I'm saying, what this one ain't get involved. We the ones we've been
Yay! Right on. I love it when videos actually do what they're supposed to do. Yes. So the saxophonist is actually my dad. So that's my stepdad playing, and he is 85 now. And so what I do is I'm the cheerleader in the family. So my job is to keep the spirits up. So I like record him all the time. And then I mix it in with all these different kinds of genres because I feel like it's important that he plays the saxophone and traditionally he plays jazz. But I feel like the saxophone itself has its own voice and a sound that needs to be heard. And if it's not in jazz, then how do we hear it? So I putting it in things other than jazz. It's like, so and then my youngest daughter is a French horn musician, and so orchestral musician, and so she actually, went to like Peabody and all that kind of stuff. But she jams, and I love the sound of the French horn. I didn't really kind of get it until she really started getting good at it. And then I was like, oh man, this is my favorite part of the Harry Potter or whatever, or the, like Back to the Future or whatever, because it was composed by John Williams. But he actually composed music for the French horn. So he didn't necessarily play the French horn, but he composed a lot of his music for the French horn. As far as like, say, Star Wars, the part where like Luke Skywalker is looking out and the sunset, that's a French horn. So it's like it's interesting how like it's kind of a triumphant kind of, I don't really know, but it's like you can feel it. So it's melodic, it's very melodic, as opposed to like a trumpet, which is awesome too. But my point to that is if my students don't go to an orchestral situation, how are they going to hear a French horn? But what they feel is the vibration of a French horn. They need that to, like, I don't know, So I just started putting sounds that were traditionally in other kind of things in stuff with like serious bass. Boom, 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 because I'm a boom, boom, boom person. So that's my story right there. And then the two guys in the very, very beginning where we're talking is kind of more a cappella. Those are actually my neighbors. So I have them come over when my dad is here, which makes my dad feel really good. And they feel like really honored because he's like this old black jazz dude. And they're like, one's a punk rocker and one's a ska dude. So, they just feel honored to be in there. And it looks like everybody's happy. And I'm like, something is happening here. And so stuff like that is what really got me to, working on what exactly what we're doing right now, which is awe phenomenology. So when people ask me like, what are you doing? What are you? I am an awe phenomenologist. So basically I study awe, awe phenomenon. So awe is awesome, like we're probably more used to, but it's also awful, right? So it most of the time it's received in the more optimal, like kind of positive part of like psychology, but at the end of the day, awe could be trauma too, right? So it's the people, your body almost and your mind, they go through some of the same reactions. So like if you ask somebody before they get out on stage, like, oh wow, what was that like? And you're like, I don't know. I was just ready to go out there. I was really nervous. And then I all blacked out. And then I'm back, right? That's not a whole lot different than somebody who went through something really traumatic. And what happened? I don't know. I just blacked out. Now I'm here. So I'm like, okay, something is happening in that space. And that space is our space. So essentially where your mind is trying to figure out what happened because it's blown, that small window of space and time is awe. So like when you see the Grand Canyon, as soon as you drive there, it's like, and then like 20 minutes later, you're like, I mean, it's a hole. It's just, I mean, it's still amazing, but I'm just saying, when you first see it though, it's like, oh, that's awe. Yeah. So let me go here. Let me see. I'm learning with this Canva situation because it's not a regular PowerPoint. Okay, so we did that one. Let me do this. Let me close this down. And let me
That
do
was that was amazing, Sydney, too. And I want to pause and make sure no one has any questions at this point. If anyone has any questions or reflections, feel free to share while Sydney is in her Canva space.
right. Right on. Any questions? I'm gonna try to get through it quick because I'll be talking. so, so I gotta hurry up. Look, because we be hanging out. Look, I don't have a life. This is it for me. All right, so
We
that's
got Debbie. We
Sydney,
got Debbie. Go ahead,
yeah,
Deb.
Sydney, didn't we do something around your awesomeness? It was Danielle, you and I, right?
exactly. And so uh, it was I think the 2020 intensive, because that's when after COVID it happened, or when COVID happened. So yeah, because we were all online, and Danielle did Delorier. So he's my chair.
Oh,
Chair.
nice.
Hey, I love him so much. It's it's really funny. He actually interviewed me. He interviewed me for when I first came to the school, and I never took one class with him, but I
Oh,
just
wow.
knew he was supposed to be my chairperson. And it was funny because the first time, yeah, Rebecca remembered because we had attitudes when we first started. I just want
Dude,
you to
we
know.
had big attitudes.
Super salty just because, like, I don't know. So, but I was like, so I was in my little funk again. And so then it's like you guys are like, dang, she got a lot of attitude problems. These are the only 2 times I've ever had attitude. But anyway, I'm in there. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get up there and I'm doing my thing because it was a talent show. And I was like in my space and I really didn't feel like doing it. But I was like, okay, you just need to do it. And I got up there and I started singing. So I think that was like one of the first times I ever actually sang in front of people. And immediately Danielle got up out of his chair and started dancing. And I was like, I don't know who this dude is, but and he's my chair to this day. So, and it was from that moment. I was like, okay, he feel whatever it is, he feels something. And that's all I need. If I got somebody who can roll with me with that, we can make it. So yes. So that's Danielle. I love him so much. All right, let's see here. Let me do this. Yeah, all right. And so Debbie, Danielle, and I actually did like a 3-part seminar with kind of like a phenomenon relating it to like reciprocal embeddedness and then to like self-care and healthcare, which is like that's Debbie's expertise, right? So it was pretty awesome. Yeah. And then what happened is I totally messed up on the time and I was just going and going. I was like, well, everybody sure does look stressed out, but okay, you know. And then, like later, my mom was like, you went over by an hour. Oh my God. Well, y'all didn't say something. So yeah, it turned out that timelessness happens in our phenomenon, right? So when you're in something where people say time flies when you're having fun, or people like it stands still when you like, that's all. Yeah, it messes with time. It's pretty cool. All right, let me see here. Let me do this here. Hopefully. Right on. Oh, wait, did it do it? Wait, we already read through that. Here we go. All right, let me do this. All right, here we go. All right, so this is a reciprocally embedded spirit of Black awesomeness. That's what I'm doing here. That's what we're doing here. And let me see if it'll go up here a little bit more. Right on. So anyway, so yeah, I was kind of looking at okay, so let me back up. I believe in magic. I'm corny like that, right? I'm that kid who was like, so but but not magic in the sense of whatever, because the more I keep going, magic is just something that was already put into motion that we didn't know was happening. Right. So if I find $100 bill, I feel like it's magic, but somebody lost that $100 bill. Right. So it's not really, you know, really magic, but it's magic to me. So anyway, but I'm into that stuff and synchronicity type stuff. So anyway, at first I wanted to do something about awesome dudes because like I was pretty much raised by my stepdad and he's an awesome dude when my dad was like, So I was like, what makes one person that way? Like I'm a single parent. So like, I didn't deal with dudes and dads. So, but anyway, so I was like, what makes one person like this and the other person, or how does that work? So I really got kind of into like awesome dudes. And so I started off with Awesome Dude Day. I was like, I'm gonna come in here and make something about awesome dudes, and we're gonna have some awesome dude day. And so, and I just got like raked over the coals.
I remember that. I totally forgot.
So sad. I was just like, because people were like, what's a dude? How come you're doing dude stuff? Like, I don't know, it was just like all these things, and I had all these barriers I was running into. And so I was like super bummed out, And so my daughter's pretty much like, I raised them to be pretty real with me. So they do, whether you want it a lot or not. So anyway, so she was like, well, Mom, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but other people are going to look at you like, why are you there? How does this pertain to you? Why are you there? She would be like, I mean, that's no different than somebody else coming in to whatever community and whatever. So I was like, oh, man, that's a good point. So I'm sad now. I'm like, dang, that's such a good idea. And she was like, I tell you what, Mom, whatever you do with Black people, they'll follow it anyway. The guys, whatever we be doing, somebody gonna do anyway. So I was like, okay, cool. So then I went from like focusing on dudes to, I guess, Blackness, really. and just how it's expressed through how our phenomenon is expressed through the indigenous Black American living experience. Because I was like, okay, 12 cops showing up for one person, one Black person. Somebody thinks we about to sprout wings or turn into the Hulk. I mean, for real, like I really started sitting down and thinking about it, like, because you kind of have to get past, I won't say past it, but you kind of have to like put on your scientist, whatever, and like look past the emotional part of appropriation, all that stuff, and actually ask yourself, okay, what's happening here? Why does somebody feel like this amount of resources need to be spent for one person? Like for real. So anyway, so that's kind of what got me more into it. And then I'm a teacher, right? So in LAUSD, so I hear the N word all the time, all the time. And I'm usually one of the only N words actually in the classroom. So finally, I just said, and I've had like a million conversations. I literally just had this conversation just last Thursday with some students. And so because I think LAUSD is like maybe 80 something percent Latinx, right? So it's a whole nother, it's just, like I'm one of the only Black people in there on campus usually, which is a trip because I was born here. So it's like, where do we go? By the way, here is Los Angeles. So, well, North Hollywood. But anyway, so what was I saying? Oh man, wait, say it one more time. Where were we? I totally forgot.
At the
The
school
N word
dis-
you said, you're
Yes.
the only one, and yada yada.
Exactly. Exactly. Y'all are awesome. Thank you. That was a pop quiz, not fine. So anyway, so I actually, I've had like a gazillion, a gazillion, like, well, how come and why not and blah, 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 blah. And so, I mean, like just knock down, drag out, just crying, you know what I'm saying? It's like hurts my feelings, ancestors, this and that. For a student to be like, yeah, I feel it, and then walk out the class and then say whatever they're gonna say. So part of me was like, okay, whether it doesn't matter whether I'm giving somebody permission to say it or not, the fact that somebody feels connected to it is actually what I'm looking at. Right. Because most of the time we just get stuck in they're saying it. And then, but like, why? Like that is literally the most derogatory term probably on the planet. Like recognizably so. Not that other things aren't as harsh or hateful, just that it's like, people know that. So it's like, why would somebody in a whole nother part of the world want to be that? And yet, who's never even met anybody. Like, I never even met Snoop Dogg or nothing, So that was what I really was like, okay, let me find out what's happening here because something's happening here. And that's where we got to. So when I started looking into it, it was like just tons and tons of like hermeneutic evidence or proof, if you will, because essentially Harriet Tubman, like we just had a whole long line of just like things that were under the classification of resilience, but resilience happens when you're already under pressure. So my question was, what exists regardless, whether, we're under pressure or not? Like what's Superman's powers on his day off? You know what I mean? Like what's already there, right? So anyway, so yeah, and so it was a lot already under resilience, under blah, blah, blah. So that's where we got to. So here we are. All right. And dang it, it's just really okay. Oh, I forgot I could do that. Note to self. All right. So first thing right here, if it looks like, can I just do this where it's like not there? Yeah, you can. All right. So anyway, okay, so this is investigate, inquiry. I'm just kind of gonna walk you through it. I'm gonna make sure I, keep it pushing. So investigate, inquiry from self outward. This is my advice. Center yourself, connect research to yourself, and relate research to others. So, right, once you connect it to yourself, like what my daughter was saying, okay, well, I understand where you're coming from, but the fact that other people may not is why, oh, that's cool. The fact that other people may not is why you're gonna probably run into these walls. So like, that's me being real with myself. How do I connect that to myself? So in other words, this will keep you out of trouble, right? So if I want to know about, I don't know, like the Latinx students and LAUSD, blah, 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 Spanish speaking, so and so and such, where I'm finding out what's going on in their home, so and so and such. As a Black woman, like that's awesome. And I would rather work with somebody actually already in the community because that's who needs to be communicating, right? So otherwise it looks like, why is she coming in here doing stuff? This is how you cover yourself, right? So just make sure whatever, if it is about that, how does that relate to you? Right. So what I looked at was like, what makes people awesome? And I basically just started with Black people, not just because Black people are awesome, but because like I'm a Black person and I need to start with myself, right? So then I can say, this is what maybe it looks like to me. So what does it look like in your culture or whatever? So that's my logic. So what I came up with is 3/5 human. This is super long, but it's actually my dissertation title. So 3/5 human, 2/5 awesome, hermeneutic Afrofuturism exploration of a darkness, blackness phenomenon towards a reciprocally embedded spirit of Black awesomeness expressed through the indigenous Black American living experience. So the reason it's entitled that is because to this day, we're still considered 3/5 human based on the Constitution of where we live. We have civil rights, but the whole idea of based on taxation and all of that kind of stuff, which is how we ended up getting fraction with indigenous Americans as well, that language is still in there. So I tell my students, when you see whatever you see with, police brutality, whatever, and it's inhumane, we got to start right here with the law of the land. So that right there is already mind blowing. You know what I mean? Like the fact that somebody could be like, yeah, let's whittle it down to 3/5. Like, first of all, how'd you even get there? Like, and why is it still there? Unless somebody still wants it there. So that's what I'm starting with, what there is. Hermeneutic, of course, is essentially with Hermes. So it's where you take what's already there and put it in kind of a story or a package where you're explaining it. And this is what I see. So all I did was just take things like trivia, like everything from Harry Potter and Sirius Black and the Dark Lord and all this kind of, that's hermeneutic proof. That's all of Blackness, darkness, even when it's not on a Black person. Because they only had 3 Black people in Harry Potter. Like, literally, because I'm a Harry Potter, weirdo. So I've actually counted. But anyway, so these are, these kinds of things. So that's what hermeneutic evidence or proof would be, if you will. And then Afrofuturism is essentially, to make a long story short, it's people of African descent, or basically all people, because we're all of African descent, envisioning ourselves in the future or in the now with absent a white constructs, basically absent a white supremacist construct. So what that looks like is in Star Wars, Darth Vader is still Black. You mean there's racism in space? Right? That's science fiction. Afrofuturism would be maybe probably the Black Panther story, something like that. I mean, that's obvious, but something like that. It would be probably Get Out and a lot of Peele's movies, these kinds of things that just put Blackness in a different framework. Just, it's not about that under a white construct. It's about whatever that story is. That's what makes him so awesome. But anyway, so that's what that is. As far as Afrofuturism, most of the time people are familiar with Afrofuturism from literature, which would be like Octavia Butler. She's considered the mother of Afrofuturism, and she actually didn't call it Afrofuturism at all. It was science fiction back then. But now she's the mother of Afrofuturism. And it's funny because academically, what I learned is that women are very much involved in Afrofuturism, but in music, it's men. So Earth, Wind, and Fire, anything that was like Afrofuture, anything like absent that construct where you like, man, do these dudes have on shiny bell bottoms, but like they're doing their thing absent whatever that construct is. So anyway, musically, it would be that. Like today, it might be Erykah Badu, maybe, yeah, like a bunch of people. Look, I can't even think about it right now, but it's happening today. Probably like, of course, Beyonce, stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, that's what it is. Yay. And let me go here. Right on. Let me go back here really quickly. This artwork, okay, nice. Let me just do this. Okay. Let me see if I can, there we go. So what I did was I really got into the artwork in my dissertation and letting it tell my story, because dealing with Blackness it's intense, right? It's intense like outer space. It's all darkness. Intense. It's the nature of Blackness, I think, and just the vastness of it. So what I found personally was like weaving art in was the best thing to do. Not necessarily for me to like put that in my dissertation, but for me to see what it is I'm trying to say or explain. So like this is not art you're gonna find a whole lot of places, but these are all my healing remedies, right? So this is my aromatherapy stuff. Like this is aromatherapy stuff, but that's different. We got like lemonade right here and sage and stuff like that. So anyway, these kinds of things, like this is what my grandmother's, chest of drawer looked like or whatever. So for me, this is healing. Like just looking at this is like, okay, it's all my favorite stuff in there. But anyway, so doing art, whatever that means to you, whether you put it in your work or not, is I feel like just make sure you do that. So that way you can also get whatever it is that you're doing through your body and it's not just stuck in you. You can get it out. That's my logic there. All right. Yay. All right. So let me see here and put this up this way. All right. So you start with, well, let me see here. All right, rationale. So it looks like, so rationale. So the fact that Indigenous Black Americans, our culture is one of the most influential in today's global market. And, especially in like social media, anything that has to do with popular culture, sports, whatever, like African American culture is basically being, premiered, showed, whatever, to sell whatever that is quite often. But I just felt like, man, when I actually found out we're only 13% of the overall population, and I really looked at like how many like bass beats there are or rap, whatever, and this and that, it's like, so I did just anecdotally, I started counting up how many times I saw Black culture reflected just in my regular television watching, and it was 80 to 90%. And some of it is geared towards me because I'm Black, you know what I mean? So I get it based on what you frequent, but like I'm talking about like regular television. Ain't nobody programming that just for me. So but anyway, I was just like, what is that? Especially when 13%. That when I tell people that, they're like, what? You just assume it's more than that. So they basically like, how does that happen? Especially since we're not the ones, meaning Black people, spreading necessarily Black culture, because like I don't have a printing press or an advertising firm or like that's not me doing that. That's somebody else. And nobody's gonna spend money unless it's making them money. So what is it that somebody else is buying? That's actually the question. Right. So what I did in this one is this was like one of my first pieces of art, really. And let me see. All right, let me see if it will let me zoom in. Well, it ain't let me zoom in. I'm sending this to y'all anyway. But so what I did with this one is this is actually the journey. Let me see if I can get in here. Look, you'd be doing this and nothing's happening. Anyway, all right, so I'll send it to you. So essentially, this is like the journey. So to me, we all start right about here. We're all the same right there. We all got the same mama. And we won't go whatever ways we go, how that goes. And so, you have the Olmec, you have the Egyptian pyramids, you have like the pyramids in Mexico. So I actually tie in the fact that Black people were already here before like European slavery happened in the first place. So it's fun. So like stuff like that is important to know on how you like feel about yourself as a Black person. You know what I'm saying? Like, because we were just so like, just got y'all on a boat and here you are. Ta-da! So yeah. So anyway, I wanted to make sure that I kind of embodied the journey. So yeah, you just have like gold and then it got sold and all that kind of stuff. But essentially, this is the journey, and then down basically to like as we're emancipated and all that kind of good stuff. And then you have this whole awe phenomenon, which is what you have now, right? So a whole fascination with Black culture, with this, and that, and at the same time, there's this underlining fear that's constantly going. So it's one thing if you're in awe and you treat it with respect, but that's not what's happening here. Right. So it's like, what's happening? Because you can't have your cake and eat it too. Not if I got something to say about it. So anyway, so that's what this story is about. So essentially, you know, you got robots and they making these pills and all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna send it to you guys. Will be like, wow, this woman is deep. She's pretty much out there, and it's true. So anyway, so but what I'm saying is ultimately, regardless of what you do or how you go, we still part of the same thing anyway. So you can make it any way you want to, but we still are what we are together. That's just what it is. So let me go here. Let me see here. Yay. So the question is, how is it that a relatively, basically the small group of people could have such a disproportionate grip on not just like economic, like other economies, but like just fashion, what people say. Like I was watching a comedian and I think she was actually Korean and like she was doing Black personality stuff. And you know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, what's going on? Y'all not funny on your own? Like, why you gotta be me to be funny? I don't know, you know. So I'm just like, something's happening here because somebody said to themselves, you know what? I'd be funnier if I did it as a Black woman. I want to know why. Right? So you got that going on. So yeah, so the fact that you have this small group of people, and not just small group of people, but small group of people after all these things. And our culture is whatever it is. So the question is not necessarily like, why is Black culture, how, whatever. It's the fact that in spite of all these things, it's that's where the awe comes in. Right? There's not that it's not awesome anyway, but just like, and then they went through this, and that just to get here, to do this awesomeness. That's what this part is. So this is like in the face of being kidnapped, smuggled, all these kind of stuff. And another thing too is like, I think it's important. I know it's like, oh man, people don't want to hear it, but it's important to like check yourself because it's easy for at least the way I was raised was to be angry at a particular group of people. But in real life, my people were part of selling me. So for me to really actually heal, I got to be real with that too. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm mad at them too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't just put that on one group of people, especially when that group of people you end up being mixed with. So what am I going to hate myself? Right? Yeah, we do. You know, but like, why? Because we're awesome. So anyway, so that's what this is. And the fact that we continue to do that, the fact that my daughters both have master's degrees, we were homeless at different points. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That's this right here. Right. So usually that is focused in terms of resilience and all the obstacles somebody had to go through. That's what the triumphant story is. And once again, I'm looking at something that already exists. Right. So, you know, we're already awesome. And you'll find out that that's why we got chosen to be slaves in the first place. People don't think about that part, but it turns out it wasn't haphazard. It turns out we were like a group of people that can make happen exactly what happened, because look where we are. So, and then I also found it really interesting that you have things like institutional racism, that everybody is pretty real, exists, and you actually instituted that for 13% of your whole population. Like if every Black person like decided to do the same thing at the same time at one time, it still would only be like, you know, everything. So it's just like, wait, what is that? And yet here I am talking to y'all working on a PhD. So you probably should have institutional racism if you're worried about us getting somewhere, because we're going to do it. And so that, and what is that? All those things are hermeneutic findings, if you will. So essentially, so how does this phenomenon express itself through the indigenous Black American living experience? And what is it connected to? Right? Where does it come from and what is it connected to? Not just like, oh, you know, Black people, you know, they pray, they do whatever. It's like, no, I want to, because like, it's not, I want to know what was going on consistently before that. What is this about? And the reason that I decided to call it indigenous Black American is because African American is not even close to describing the Dutch, the Irish, the Choctaw, or the Blackfoot in my family. So am I going to leave those parts out? And I'm not really Black. I'm like brown, but I'm not really Black. And if I was Black, looking that up in the dictionary, there's nothing good about that. Right? So all the things that we called ourselves or we were called were based on aesthetics or based on your job. So I felt like, okay, that's not what I'm talking about. I also wanted to make it I wanted to distinguish what this phenomena is in terms of where I'm looking at it from other African diaspora groups, right? So like, it's not to say that Jamaicans don't have a reciprocally embedded spirit of Jamaican awesomeness, you know what I mean? It's that like, I'm looking at it though through this group because it's expressed in a particular way through African American culture, right? So rap music, these kinds of things, all of those are African American cultural phenomena, not Jamaican, which is interesting. I'm just using Jamaican, but which is interesting because it turns out Jamaican rap itself, the first person to be credited with rap was a Jamaican person.
Mm.
Yeah, when I found that out, I was upset. I was like, they don't know what they're talking about. And I went back and Googled it. I was like, oh. So anyway, yeah, so I just find that really interesting. But I wanted to make sure that I distinguish that because the N-word is not their phenomena. Right. So I was very specific about that. And it's funny because this is one of the hardest parts that people had in whatever I'm doing. Like, how do you separate this out and don't other people go? I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that 90-day ride. I'm talking about like, greens. I'm talking about picking cotton. I'm talking about like something that's that's different. Right. So that's specifically who I'm looking at. And also it kind of encompassed Black people who were probably here before European slavery or, European, yeah, British, whatever, slavery happened. So if they were already here, they'd have been enslaved anyway, right? Because it was a race-based slavery. So essentially this catch-all phrase is for people who basically have lineage of African American or Africans enslaved in America during slavery time, right? So that's what that is. So it's funny because this is where people get mad at me, but I'm like, Obama, I get it, but like his dad is Kenyan and his mom is like this white woman from Kansas. He's not a African slave descendant. Right. So right. No, nobody was out there picking cotton. Right? That's what I'm talking about. Because that is its own genetic marker, just like different, like say, indigenous tribes. And I feel like it's funny because people get upset when you want to distinguish that. And it's like, but then it's okay for you to be like Lakota and Dakota, but we can't be like, something, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, that's interesting. So that's what that is right here. So we want to know what it is, where it comes from, and how it connects. Yay. So what I did was, this is a method, hermeneutic inquiry explores non-fictive streams of evidence. So what I did was I actually wrote a story about this woman who discovers what a darkness, blackness, all phenomena is. So you actually go through the journey with her. And so I looked at 5 different dimensions, not levels, but dimensions, because there's no hierarchy in what I'm talking about. So it's just dimensions. And so the first one is cosmic. So the fact that a black hole is looked at as like, oh my God, it's coming to get us. We're going to die. It's going to absorb all the light and kill all the white. You've heard that somewhere before, right? So when I heard that kind of language, I was like, oh, wait, so blackness is being described, the fear of it is being described similarly in these different dimensions. That's when I was like, there's something going on with blackness. And that's why I didn't make it about African American or African whatever, because what I'm talking about existed before Africa was called Africa. Just that simple. So, so yeah, this darkness, blackness, right? Because actually, did you know like Africa just started being called that like not that long ago? Before that, it was like Abakulan or something I'm totally not saying right. And it meant like the Garden of Eden or the original mother womb or something like that. So like, yeah, I was like, okay, this needs to be bigger than Africa or Europe or whatever. So anyway, so this is the cosmic aspect. The ancient aspect is basically looking at Kush, and not even just Kush, but it's looking at like ancient whatever. But I specifically looked at why there is a pyramid on the American $1 bill. Ain't got nothing to do with that. And yet there it is. That is hermeneutic evidence, right? There's something going on fascination wise that is right about here. And of course, now, we know that Egyptians look like Elizabeth Taylor. So, that's also part of it. But the fact that it was an actual planned effort to shoot off the noses of the Sphinx and everything else that you see like that, because they didn't want people to know that those were Negroid noses and that was the telltale sign, that's hermeneutic proof. Like they actually had to shoot that stuff up with a cannon just to show that Black people didn't do it or make it. And now what, aliens build pyramids instead of Black people? Right? So, but that says something. And maybe I'm like, well, maybe that is, maybe we are 3/5 human. If that's the case, what's the other 2/5? So that's the one I came up with. Awesome. So then you have philosophical religious. So the fact that the first thing that God says is let there be light says it was all darkness. And it also says that whatever God came from, his mama was Black because it was all darkness. So looking at things like that, and somewhere around this era, which is basically from like Greek, Roman kind of whatever, gravity and density was attached to Blackness. So before that, it was just like you'll see pottery or renditions of human beings like blue, all different kinds of colors. Just it wasn't even about that. Once this era in here kind of got started, that's when Greek philosophers and whatnot, they actually attached weight and density to darkness. They did that to create an up and a down. All right, that's the illusion of it, because there's no up or down in a sphere. We're a circle in the middle of space. No up or down in that. You have to construct that. You construct that by saying darkness is heavier. And so therefore, when you look at the pyramid that's on the dollar bill, down here, that's us. That's the base. That is literally like the power structure, right? Up to the 1%. It's mind-blowing. It's the same thing over and over again. So once this happened, then you have the whole, Greek, Roman kind of whatever. And then you have the religious stuff that comes in that says Black is evil. And literally my daughter and son-in-law, they just came back from Salem, Massachusetts, because his brother-in-law wanted to do whatever. And I don't know. So anyway, I'm like, what you doing over there, man? But anyway, it was just interesting because like literally one of the displays that they went to, they were like, the Black man is the devil, period. Right? So how do you live and be okay with yourself? Being that, right? So this is where that kind of comes in. And so there you got Hades, right? Now you have up from down, and down is bad and it's Black, white is up here, and now you have white supremacy. It's just like that. Because it didn't exist in my thought before, because we would have been here a long time ago. The next time, so then the next fourth dimension is humanity. And so this is where I looked at the connectiveness of the fact that 200,000 years ago, one Black womb, we are all traced back to that one Black womb from 200,000 years ago. So I looked at just like that, that's its own proof right there. The fact that in real life, all of us are Black because our mama is Black. And then last but not least, I looked at this phenomenon through the indigenous Black American living experience. So that would be me talking right now and Debbie on here with all the obstacles that she's been through and all the obstacles I've been through. We would be like this part of this phenomenon right here. I can guarantee you that. So yeah, so I just looked at what was already there because I wanted to be able to use examples that people were familiar with. I want to be able to talk about Marvel movies. I want to be able to talk about whatever it is, because it's in everything. Essentially, if you have something that's like fear of darkness, vanquishing the darkness, blah, 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 is built on this ideology, which is not healthy for our Black selves, which we all have. Just saying. So that was a method. And so from that, that's when the whole term or the idea of a reciprocally embedded spirit of Black awesomeness came through. So something that's already inside of somebody, because why else are you doing K-pop? Like they never, I'm saying, like it's like, it's mind-blowing. I've been places where it's like people don't even speak English, but they know a whole Snoop Dogg song. It's mind-blowing. So let's see here. So darkness, Blackness, all phenomenon, findings, and implications. So essentially what we found, or what the research found, is that there is, going back to Debbie, you'll love this, a heart knowing. That is one of Danielle's things there. So there's basically a heart knowing, or something that which describes is more of a intuitive, instinctive almost phenomena that could be happening that people are just drawn to. So whatever that is, but it is. 'Cause it's just like, okay, it's not the fact that I had somebody one time and she was like, I don't know, just black people are cool. And I was like, okay, but why do you think that though? Like, I know that. They were just like, but why do you think that though? What makes you think that? And she was like, she couldn't really think about it. This could have something to do with why. So basically that there is a embedded space of awesomeness that was embedded from the original womb, basically. So if the womb is awesome, then whatever comes from that womb has to be awesome also, whether it's expressed or not. It is embedded with that awesomeness. And so I looked at that as actually the common thread between the different dimensions and people and space and time and everything. It was the same black thread, mama thread, if you will. So that's where I kind of came up with darkness matrixio cosmological, because it sounds real good. But basically it's black womb space. All right, so it turns out like NASA, so I use like NASA proof and these kinds of things. And so what they found out, of course, is that in black holes, once the black hole actually, okay, so whatever the black hole ingests, it spits out in the same kind of chronological order, just like food, like you do, right? So it comes out and however you ate it. So it's really interesting because it's like this whole recycling thing. You know what I mean? And yet we're made of whatever that is, and then that is whatever we're made of. And it turns out like NASA is basically like 90, not basically, 95% of everything is darkness. So either black matter, dark energy, whatever it is, and the other 5% is born of that darkness. Essentially, what we have going on right now in this world is a preoccupation with that 5%. Instead of just integrating that 5% into the overall, like this is nature's expression of blackness through you. So, because that's okay too. But anyway, that's where we're going there. So then you have, let's see, essentially looking at it from, like I said, the mother womb kind of thing, and not so much about feminine or masculine, but womb. So all of us have X chromosomes. So essentially, if you have an X chromosome and you are a human being, then you have a black woman within you, all of us. That's the one thing we actually have in common is the black feminine or the black X chromosome within all of us. It's mind-blowing, right? So I was looking at that and then I started thinking, I wonder if people that I really don't know that well, but I just hit it off with, I wonder if I'm actually talking, if we're talking to the black woman in each other, regardless of what we are. Like, is that where we're meeting? Because that would be a mutual ground to meet on, right? So anyway, so it looks at that, and essentially and the implications is that it's beyond vast in the sense that one, it applies to everybody, but two, but it comes from the center of blackness and from a place of family, if you will, and lineage, whether it's cosmically or whatever. So I love that. Because you can actually apply this just to every single thing across the board. But if you flew somewhere in space, it'll probably fit somewhere out there too, because mamas do what they do, right? So that's black womb paradigm. And then let's see, it has limitless potential. Also because for healing, because one, now as a black person or African slave descendant, I have a better understanding of why I'm in the situation I'm in. It's up to me to define the other 2/5 of what that is, whatever that is. But also because, Black people got spread everywhere. So like Brazil has more people of African descent than anywhere else in the world other than Africa. So like we're everywhere. So if this is something that actually can apply here, like, we're going to take it everywhere. And also everybody's Black everywhere, right? So if you're the person with red hair in your family, you're the Black person in your family. I mean, if you're the person with curly hair, like, I don't know, it depends on where you are. Like, it's not in the literal sense, but it's not hard to be the person who's the I guess physiological representation of our ultimate original mama. Let's put it that way. And depending on where you live, that doesn't work out so good for you, right? So this would actually kind of delve into that. And then also too, I think like you have people like, I mean, Elvis Presley is not a good example because he was like super racist and stuff, but you have people like that just are good at and get Black music. Of course, he stole it. We already know that. But the point is, he could dance, right? So what if he was like, where do I get this from? This where you get it from? It turns out it's not a mystery. All right. Which hopefully could help people to be like, oh, I understand myself better. So anyway, because we're all connected to that. So let me go next. So essentially, further inquiry is just looking into this phenomenon more and applying it to like a whole like different disciplines, different fields. Because when I say there's a dearth of information relative to like Indigenous Black American strength-based research, oh man, that was the hardest part. Was how do I find information about Black stuff without it being negative and depressing? Because everything is like written from a problem standpoint and not from a what's working standpoint. So y'all can find a million statistics about us being, on top of the list for cancer, AIDS, and everything else. But with all of those things, people are still calling themselves whatever I am. So something, doing something right. What is that? That's where this lives. Because if we can figure that out, then we can like superimpose it for everybody. Then just curtail it to whatever their specifications are ethnically. So this is why I'm actually going to put this in the chat thingy, because what I did was I actually made a flyer, if you will, of awe phenomenon. So these are like all quick facts about what awe does, what it is, these kinds of things. Because once again, I found visually it was just easier for me to keep up with stuff. Look, what time is it? Okay, I'm going quick. All right, so keep up with stuff. But anyway, so this is on fear in the shadow, blah, blah, blah. But it turns out actually your weaknesses or your downfalls, if you will, are actually what make you awesome. It's where you're coming from. And awesomeness is based on where you are. So if you're like 95 years old now and you're just able to get up and brush your teeth, that's awesome. Now, when you were 20 something and you could run a marathon super fast, that's awesome. So it stays fluid with you throughout life. Right there. So moving forward, my dream is a researcher, a mom, an aunt, a Gen Xer, one of you guys' schoolmates, is for this to kind of like create a model where other people can put their whatever into it. So like once again, you have like a reciprocally embedded spirit of foster parent awesomeness or science fiction awesomeness, whatever it is that is a kind of a cultural umbrella, like let's make it. Because I think part of the problem too is that we're programmed to trust these people and not these kinds of people or whatever, but like that doesn't work. So if I'm trusting somebody just because they're Black, like I don't know. But if I'm trusting somebody because they're awesome, that's where I want to be, right? So anyway, and all of these things are a transformative phenomena, but they also have a self-help healing component to it because Afrofuturism is self-care. So that's woven into it. And then, right, yeah, thank you and stuff. And so here's some more art stuff in here because I love art stuff. But essentially, I try to I just kind of have these different, I don't know, like people that I envision other people in these women. So like, what does Danielle look like to me? You know what I mean? This is what Danielle looks like to me, right? So anyway, so I did that basically with everybody and try to put us in there, and chocolate is awesome. And then I have this right here, which you'll love.
Mm.
Right? So that was when we said 2000 and what, 18? So this was the intensive, and we're here for the cookies. So me and Rebecca was in there stealing all the cookies, y'all. And so we would come back, and then we just have a whole little, like we just looted it, like pirates or something, and just be up all night, like eating sweets and stuff, talking to each other. So anyway, I love Rebecca from day one. She stressed me out so bad. I was just like, but then what she was saying was actually like valid and it was awesome. And I was just mad at myself. And then I was just like, well, this is my opportunity to like be better and like grow. And we've been just beautiful ever since. I love her. So, yay. But this is our proof. We had chips on our shoulders. And then I just have this right here. Yay. You are awesome and you are loved by Whitney Appleseed 2024. So yay. I did it. It's not 5 hours.